Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make pumpkin and or squash puree. The first thing you need to do is go set your oven to preheat to 400. Then you're going to need to get either a pumpkin, and I have a small sugar pumpkin, and I have an acorn squash. So I'm going to be doing these both at the same time. You do the same thing for either one. If you have a larger pumpkin than just the regular like pie size pumpkin, like if it's a big sort of jack-o'-lantern size, you might have to cook it a little bit longer. But we're going to be cooking it at 400 for about an hour. The first thing we need to do is to cut our pumpkins and squash in half. Sometimes they won't come out exactly in half, as you can see, because of the little stem here. And then the next thing we want to do is I'm just going to use a antique sort of ice cream scoop, and we just want to get all those seeds. And I save my seeds so I can them to plant. So I'm going to put all that stuff. I'm going to put the pumpkin seeds and innards in one container or bowl. Oh, and look at this. We already have a seed sprouting inside. Isn't that interesting? Take that out and plant it. I'm not going to be putting any kind of seasoning on these or anything, because I'm going to probably use this one in a pie. I'm going to use this puree to make cookies. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on the rim, and I'm going to sort of spread that around there. This one has a bit of a bad spot, but that's okay. We'll cut that out. We're not eating the outside. We're going to be eating the inside anyway. Okay, so I got a little bit of olive oil. I just spread around on my tray here, just to keep it from scalding. I'm going to put them the meat side, the side that we're going to eat. We're making the puree out down. That way the rinds can take the brunt of the cooking. And then we are going to put it in the oven for about 60 minutes. Sometimes it's done at 50 minutes, depending on the size of your pumpkins and the denseness of the inside the pumpkins. So we're going to put it in there, and we'll come back when it's done cooking. Okay, our timer's gone out, and we're going to get it out of the oven. Okay, the way to tell if it's done is just to poke it with a fork, and if it's done, it will go in very easily, like solid fruit. If it's not cooked, you gotta push it to get it to that meat. So we're just gonna let this cool down, and then when we come back, we will scrape it out of the shells, and we'll look at the puree. It's time to get the acorn squash and pumpkin out of the rinds, and I'm just going to be putting it in quart-size freezer baggies, because I'm going to be using the acorn squash tomorrow to make cookies, which will also be a video. And the pumpkin I'm just freezing for future pumpkin pie or pumpkin bread or cake or whatever I decide to make out of it. So I'm not using it right now, so I'm going to be freezing it. So I've just put a quart bag down in a little bowl here. I'm just going to be using yet another ice cream scoop. And what you want to do is just lightly go along that rind. Just scoop it out. It usually scoops out pretty easy. In fact, sometimes it's so easy you got to be careful not to get that pumpkin rind in there. Sort of scrape it. I like to put that rind in my compost bin. And the best way to, the easiest way to do it, I think, you put it down at the bottom of your bag. I like to roll the bag so I get all my excess air out of there. Squeeze it down and then just squish it. Now you can use potato masher. You could use a potato ricer, I guess. I have a potato ricer that I bought recently. If you watched one of my antique videos, I bought it for and plan to use it as like a fruit press. I don't rice my potatoes, I just mash them. You can see you can just fill around in there for the fill any big lumps. It's sort of fun too. As long as you're not real aggressive, like don't take out like all the anger of the week on this puree because your bag might pop. Puree is ready. Ground cloves, ground cinnamon. You could add brown sugar. You can make it, you know, flavor it. Any of the spices that ginger, you would ordinarily put in a pumpkin recipe, like a pumpkin pie recipe. You could put that in if you wanted to make a flavored puree, like before you freeze it, so you can just pull it out and like use it in taste. But I find usually I'm using this puree in recipes that already call for seasons and stuff, so it's not really worth my time to go ahead and take the time to make all that. So there's a whole bunch of pumpkins and you decided to make them all, do them all, you know, a bunch of them at the same time instead of just storing them. You could make flavored as well, just to save yourself some time, I guess, later on. But like I said, I find that the recipes that I use the puree in usually have their own stuff, so it's just easier just to make the puree. So there we have it. And we have the pumpkin and the acorn squash. And it was super easy. And now tomorrow I'm going to make my cookies. And this is going in the freezer. I'll put the instructions again down in the description box in case you missed them, because I tend to talk about them. So thanks for joining us. Bye.